With the recent announcement of James Gunn as the co-chairman and CEO of DC Studios, every DC nerd is finally excited. It's like Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad were a test for his adapting capabilities from Marvel, and it's safe to say he obviously passed with flying blood red colors. He's the most consistent Marvel director ever, and fans can't wait for what he has in store for the struggling to find its voice rival studio. Gunn's new DC posters have already got everyone curious and hopeful. One is hoping that the upcoming shows and films are R-rated because it's clearly worked out every time in the past for DC. Maybe that's what DC really is, the opposite of Disney, basically everything that kids should not be watching. It's way more dark anyway than Marvel, and it needs to embrace that instead of shying away from it. Because every time it has tried to shy away from it, it has failed, or it has landed somewhere in the middle. But one also really hopes that the new DC head doesn't leave the old and less popular shows of DC behind. Stuff that actually worked. No, not that one. Not that one either. Nope. Nope. Fuck no. The one that we are going to talk about today is actually unlike any DC or Marvel stuff we've seen before in movies and TV. It's one really absurd show consisting of weird superheroes, if you can even call them superheroes. Today, we're going to talk about Doom Patrol.
Holy! Holy! Holy!
I get the point!
Don't you dare hurt them.
So Doom Patrol was going to be a part of the Arrowverse, which is DC's American Network TV universe. It even made a slight appearance in the Titans, which was supposed to continue and connect the stories in their own show. But that plan didn't really work out when fans spotted differences in the characters between the two shows. Which was a blessing in disguise for Doom Patrol because the further it went away from any of the other properties, the more it got room to grow in its own weird little universe. By season 2, they rewrote the whole idea of what a superhero show can be. Sure, it takes some time to adjust to its madness when you start it, but you won't stop when you realize that it thrives on it. And one of the reasons season 2 makes the show own up to its full potential is because thanks to the launch of HBO Max, it didn't need to be a PG-13 version tied to the Arrowverse or Titans or the Flash. It felt like the showrunners were given more freedom to explore in its sophomore run. And this is despite the fact that season 2 was made during the pandemic. And with the recent HBO Max Discovery merger thing, because of which they shut shop in India before they even opened, many of HBO Max shows were quietly dumped on Prime Video India. Sucks for Warner Brothers, but lucky for us that we still get to watch this. And season 1 is just as weird too, if not more. Season 1 is the reason you want to continue watching, but as a viewer, you're primarily busy grasping and getting familiar with the characters in the world. In season 2, however, the viewer knows the world and characters better, so it feels like time's not getting spent in making us like them or invest in them. Like all good shows, when they're greenlit for the second season, you get a sense of comfort, even with the actors playing their parts. Besides, there's just more conviction and commitment to the absurd season 2 onwards. Full disclosure, some performances do come across as a little hammy, but point one mainstream comic book show where the actors are only subtle. The good thing is, Doom Patrol knows their ensemble's strengths and weaknesses. Some actors individually may not always deliver, but together the ensemble fits perfectly. They do feel like a bunch of misfits, the characters and the actors, and that is what is at the core. It's a show about misfits trying to understand where they belong in this weird wide world. Which is instantly relatable because that theme applies to every one of us. And in terms of casting, a faceless Brendan Fraser is always there to make up for any shortcomings of the rest of the cast. Back in 2019, Brendan Fraser's casting was a surprise. He's notably the biggest star in the ensemble and it's the reason he leads the pack in the currently ongoing 4th season too. But when the first season dropped, Brendan Fraser was nowhere on the map. It was like his sabbatical was so long that it seemed like a retirement. But it feels like the show shifted the gears to the next chapter of his career, and with Darren Aronofsky's film creating some serious Best Actor Oscar buzz for Brendan Fraser, one can only hope and remain grateful that he is still actively acting. So to sum up, watch Doom Patrol because it's a very human show disguised as a superhero show, and because of that it avoids all superhero cliches too. It's one of the lesser known DC comics, and the showrunners are fully embracing that by digging in for even lesser known villains of DC comics. The other thing that the makers are embracing here is the absurd. Each episode, each season gets weirder than the previous one. And despite doing that, it stays true to its primary characters. Like the new DC head's love for music and all his work, this show features a good soundtrack, which is always a plus. And with the fun music it shows, the show doesn't take itself too seriously. but at the same time, it addresses some important mental health related themes. After all, it's easier to swallow the pill if it's hidden underneath all the entertainment. Just like the teen Doom Patrol, the show is also a misfit and outcast in terms of the other bigger DC comic heroes. Season 4 and presumably the final season has just started playing, so try to catch up on it if you can. And perhaps people who are constantly complaining about the superhero genre not being inventive enough or reaching a stage of fatigue should ask themselves if they fully 100% know what they're talking about, or are they just making a half-baked opinion by watching the recent Phase 4 Marvel movies. Because if the latter is the case, then perhaps they need to broaden their horizon before coming to a conclusion of blaming an entire genre. Either way, go watch Doom Patrol on Prime Video India, and who knows, if the show gets more popular with its 4th season, they might just renew it for one more.